everyone, I'm Mrs. Midnight, and since Squid Game has become a bit of an obsession for me, I decided I'm going to do a video series analyzing every episode. However, since YouTube has already enough reviews of the series, I'm going to analyze it with Mrs. Midnight personal seal, through color, and not only the colors of the game, but also the ones that appear outside of it. So in this first half, we'll be talking about the personal life of Gyun and the colors we see there before he enters the game. And in the second half, we'll be talking about the colors that we can see inside the game and the island. By the way, I think I need to apologize in advance because this will be the first time pretty much in my life that I speak Korean, so it's very likely that I'm going to mispronounce. The first thing we see is a flashback of Gyun's childhood. Here they explain the Squid Game's rules, while we watch our protagonist celebrate happily with his friends. Surely you've noticed that both in movies and series, it's common to use black and white to distinguish the past scenes from the present that appears in color. However, in Squid Game's case, this also shows us that the innocence and happiness that we see in the protagonist in this scene is no longer reachable and possibly not even tangible anymore. With the years, they did not only grow up, but they also grew bitter due to their experiences. And therefore, having fun like children sounds like an impossible that belongs only with the remote memories. This we can notice in the damage of the friendship between Gyun and Sang-woo. The series tells us that they were friends in childhood and even in adolescence, and that Gyun even helped Sang-woo go to school, but now in adulthood, they barely speak to each other. After the flashback, we start seeing Gyun's personal life and also the people that are close to him. And during all these scenes, we'll see that the color palette is much closer to the soft colors than to the bright ones. And this was a great decision because it's exactly how Gyun's life is. Almost gray, very sad, very shadowy, with a lot of problems, and almost no joy. Oh, and the little joy he does have dissipates almost immediately because either he receives bad news or he's in danger. Firstly, we see our protagonist at home with his mother, and both of them show the biggest value contrast as possible, since he's wearing a white t-shirt and she's wearing a black jacket. Here, Gyun shows that he's an irresponsible man with his family because he doesn't even remember that it's his daughter's birthday. And then he shows us how cynical he is when he uses this occasion as an excuse to ask more money from his mom. Cynicism that grows few minutes after, because when his mother leaves the house, he asks her, "Why do you work so much if you never have money?" It's funny that he's dressed precisely in white when he says all this, because white is a crude and cold color, like his attitude with his mom. But when it comes to the mother, her attitude during the whole scene is practically muted. Like she was too tired to discuss, no matter the things her son tells her. And this shows us that this lady is completely resignated to have a miserable life and live in constant sorrow. Both things related to the black of her jacket. This we can see even more when we see that she is aware that her son steals from her, but she still leaves the credit card where he can find it. In the next scene, we see Gyun wearing soft and clear colors while he is at the race course with his friend and when they win the bet. And with this they show us that although money does bring a bit of joy into his life, it's just a placebo. Because that joy dissipates immediately when he sees the guys he owes money to. So the series is already telling us that even though money has to do with lots of his problems, it won't solve his life. When we see him having dinner with his daughter, she is wearing a yellow sweater with a white shirt. And these colors are related to innocence, pureness, and joy, being all of them qualities that both her mother and her stepfather want to preserve in her even if they have to push Gyun away. But as they keep talking, we see that although her love for her father is real, this girl is everything but naive, and she actually notices a lot of things. From the possibility of her father getting in trouble for getting her a lighter, to the fact that if she tells her she's leaving the country, she'll break his heart. Finally, when the ex-wife appears, we see her dressed entirely in brown. And this, plus her attitude, tells us that although she is a homely woman that loves her family, she isn't happy. Because it tells us that her family life takes so much of her energy that there's no time left for her. Actually, not even mental energy to think of what she wants to do. Remember this because this will be confirmed in future chapters. And now, let's talk about Gyun's first approach to the Squid Game. Gyun takes the subway home, and here he is approached by an executive dressed in grey that proposes to play Daji. After they agree on betting money during the game, the executive makes Yoon choose between a red and a blue card, which is actually very curious, because red is the color of the real and material, and blue is the color of the illusory and ethereal. So as you can see, the series is already telling us that we don't know if this guy and his proposition are trustworthy. And on the other hand, that Yoon prefers to fool himself, believing there's an easy way to make money. When Yoon loses and cannot pay his bet, the executive tells him that he can use his body to pay him. Yoon looks at him confused, and then the guy explains himself by hitting him on the face, and then clarifies that every slap is the equivalent to 100 wons. Here, the gray color of his clothes reflect his lack of sensitivity that we can see on his unaltered expression no matter how many times he hits him and no matter how much he hurts him. Even when his face is already swollen due to all the punches he's taken, his inexpressive smile, similar to your avatar in Pokemon 7th Generation, remains exactly the same. And even when Yoon finally beats him and wants to take revenge by hitting him hard on the face, he doesn't even get altered. He just calmly stops him and pays him his cash. And with this he also shows us that, although violent during the game, the executive is fair and impartial, because when Yoon loses he hits him, but when he wins, he pays him. However, later in this scene we also see the ambiguity of Gray, because when this guy invites Yoon to play the Squid Game, he informs him, but with half-truths. He tells him he can make a lot of money playing like that for some days. And with this he is implying that Yoon could get hurt during the games. However, he doesn't inform him of the fact that he could also die. As spectators, we could think that we are as ignorant as Yoon in this matter. However, if we watch closer, we'll see that the executive suit is no other color but Oxford Grey, which is the darkest of all the greys, and therefore the one that's closer to black. With this they are telling us that the intentions of this executive and all the people involved in the game are at least closer to the dirtiness than to the cleanness. At the beginning, Yoon is not convinced, but he ends up deciding to participate when his mother tells him his daughter is moving to USA. In this scene, Yoon is already wearing his PJs, but his mother is still wearing the black jacket, which shows us that her sorrow state continues during the day. And also, textually she says that if Yoon doesn't fight for his daughter, she'll forget how to speak Korean and they'll grow further apart. However, she lets us see with her attitude and her colors that although this is what she says, she's also scared of her losing her grandkid. If you're liking this analysis so far, make sure to subscribe to the channel and click on the bell so YouTube lets you know when I upload the second part. Mrs. Midnight loves you and hopes to see you next time. Thanks for watching.